Welcome back to my channel. We are going to continue with our revision and we are going to be focusing on the coastal environment. The coast refers to the zone where the land and the sea meet and interact. The sea also interacts with the atmosphere, and in the process, sea waves are formed. This is because the moving atmosphere has energy, and so this energy is transferred to the sea when they interact. And the movement of energy through the water is what creates the waves. As the energy moves through the water will take on a wave form. And some of the elements involved in this waveform include the highest part of the wave, which is the crest, the lowest part, which is the trough, and the distance between the two crests is referred to as the wavelength, while the distance between the crest and the trough is referred to as the wave height. Now, not only is the energy transferred to the sea, but even some characteristics of the wind will be transferred to the sea. So when the wind is strong, for example, then we're going to have rough seas. All right, so the waves will have more energy. When the wind is moving in a certain direction, the waves will also move in that direction. And so in the Caribbean, where the northeast trade winds are the prevailing winds, we find that in many cases the waves will be moving in the direction of the prevailing wind. And in turn, sediments on the coast tend to be influenced by the movement of the wind. That is the direction of movement of the wind. Additionally, the longer the wind interacts with the sea, the stronger the waves will become. The land also interacts with certain features, and one feature it interacts with are the rivers. As rivers flow from highland areas towards the sea, they will erode materials from the land and they will transport it towards the sea. When they reach to the coast, the sediment is usually deposited along the coast, and this will add to the materials that are found on the coast. Therefore, when we go to the coast and we see certain sediments, we can examine those sediments and They can tell us a story not only about the local area, which is the coast, but also about the surrounding environment from which the materials have been drawn. Now, in the last video, we talked about a number of fluvial landforms. One fluvial landform which is formed along the coast is called a delta. The delta is a depositional fluvial landform, and it occurs because the energy of the river decreases significantly when it reaches to the sea and the two bodies of water are opposing each other. Not all river mouths will have deltas, and this is because deltas need certain conditions in order to develop. One such condition is a large amount of sediments brought down by the river from the upper and middle courses. Secondly, the rate of deposition must exceed the rate of erosion of sediments by the sea. Thirdly, deltas form when the sea has a small tidal range. Remember, range is a difference between the highest and the lowest. So in this case, it is a difference between the high tide and the low tide. And fourthly, deltas form where currents are generally weak. Now, the delta is a fluvial landform which so happens to occur along the coast. We don't usually refer to the delta as a coastal landform. Coastal landforms are landforms that are created by the direct action of waves. All right. So even though waves play a role in the formation of delta, they are not the only factor that result in the formation of delta. So we don't usually place it under the category of coastal landforms. All right. So coastal landforms can be placed under two broad categories. We can talk about erosional landforms and depositional landforms. And as you can see, I have listed examples of landforms that fall under these two categories. Erosional landforms are usually associated with destructive waves which wear away the coastal land. Depositional landforms refer to those landforms that are created by sediments which have been transported for some distance and then dropped when the energy has been reduced significantly. Erosional landforms include bays and headlands formed when differential erosion causes one part of the coastal land to be eroded faster, creating indentations called bays. And the part that is left will project outwards into the sea, and this part is called a headland. Now, when this happens, the headlands will now become more exposed to the full force of the waves, while the bays are more sheltered. So, as the headland is attacked by the waves, the sides of the headland will begin to be eroded, forming caves. When the backs of the caves meet, it will result in the formation of arches. And when the roof of the arch collapses, it will result in a column-like feature standing in front of the headland. This is called a stack. When the stack is further worn down, it becomes a stump. Another set of erosional landforms are cliffs and wave-cut platforms which develop together. They form when a highland is eroded at its base, and the erosion occurs between the high tide and the low tide level. This results in the formation of a wave-cut notch. Over time, the notch gets bigger and bigger until an overhang is created. And because the overhang is not supported from below, it will collapse. This will steepen the highland to create a cliff. And the base of the cliff, which is left below the low water mark or the low tide level, is what will create the wave-cut platform. The wave-cut platform is usually covered up at high tide or during high tides, and it is exposed during low tides. Depositional landforms include beaches, and beaches are gentle areas of sand or sometimes gravel which form between the high and low water mark. We can have drift aligned beaches, and we can also have swash aligned beaches. When sediments project outwards into the sea, especially where the coastline has changed direction, a spit is formed. If the spit extends to the point where it reaches an island, then it is called a tombolo. If the spit continues from one end of a bay onto the other end of the bay, then it is called a bar. Now, let us talk about some coastal ecosystem. The coast is also the home of a number of wildlife. Coastal ecosystems include coral reefs, seagrass, mangroves. Seagrass bed is an underwater ecosystem formed by seagrasses. Seagrasses are marine plants found in shallow coastal waters and in brackish waters of estuaries. Mangroves are a group of trees and shrubs that live in the coastal intertidal zone. They provide habitats for a number of marine creatures. They help to stabilize the land and even create new lands. They also help to filter out pollutants and therefore help to protect the coral reefs, which need clean water. Mangroves also act as buffers and so protect the coastal environment against flooding. Coral reefs are limestone ridges formed from marine creatures called polyps. Besides providing a habitat for marine creatures, they also help to protect the coast by reducing wave energy. They are tourist attractions and also break down to provide materials for the formation of white sand beaches. There are three main types of coral reefs. These are fringing reef, barrier reef, and atoll reef. A fringing reef has a shallow and narrow lagoon because it is closer to the coast. A barrier reef has a deeper and wider lagoon as it is further away from the coast, and an atoll reef is a series of reef islands surrounding a lagoon which lies above an island which has subsided. Now, coastal areas are also the sites of tectonic activities. Notice from the map that the plate margins are located on land, below the sea, as well as along the coast. We see, for example, a convergent plate margin along the North as well as the South American coast. Tectonic plates can result in the occurrence of earthquakes. Earthquake is the shaking of the surface of the earth resulting from a sudden release of energy in the earth's crust. When earthquakes occur beneath the sea, it can result in the formation of giant waves called tsunami. Now, in the same way, energy from the wind can cause waves to form. Seismic energy from earthquakes can also cause waves to form. But because it's a lot of energy, the waves are going to be very large. Another earthquake hazard which occur along the coast is liquefaction, which takes place when loosely packed waterlogged sediments at or near the ground surface lose their strength in response to strong ground shaking. This causes the land to behave like fluid, and therefore the structures on top of them will start to collapse. The coast can therefore be a place of great danger, but it can also be a place of great fascination. In many Caribbean countries with hilly interior, the coast is the most attractive place for settlement. As such, population density is usually high along the coast and sparse in the interior of the country. For many Caribbean territories, urban settlements develop along the coast, while the hilly interior remain as rural areas. As a place where most development occurs, coastal areas are sites of a number of industries which try to take advantage of the benefits of this site. In Trinidad and Tobago, coastal areas are sites of natural gas mining, since most natural gas deposits are located off coast. In Guyana, sugar estates are located along the coast where they take advantage of high population densities, alluvial soils, generally flatlands, as well as ports. In Jamaica, the flour mill, which gets its raw material from abroad, occupy coastal location for ease of import and export. The coast is also the workplace of the fisherman. Fish are caught along mangroves, coral reefs, shallow banks, and so on. One of the most important industries along the coast is tourism industry. Many tourist accommodations are constructed along the coast, where the climatic conditions are pleasant due to onshore winds. Additionally, coastal areas are also sites where cruise ship visitors are welcomed at cruise ship ports. Along coastal locations, visitors engage in sunbathing, swimming, snorkeling, and diving. Development and human activities along the coast can result in many changes to the natural coastal environment. Industries can result in environmental degradation. For example, mining can result in oil spills. Fertilizers from farms can pollute the sea. Waste from industries can also pollute the sea. The dredging of the sea may change the way water flows. Human structures such as jetties may impact the way longshore drift occurs along the coast. Some fishing methods may damage not only the fish population but also their habitats, such as coral reefs. Tourism has a number of impacts on the coastal environment. For one, the carbon footprint of hotel rooms is very large because of the use of electricity for air conditioning, lighting, electronic appliances, and so on. Secondly, large quantities of water is used for bathing, laundry, cleaning, watering the lawn, and so on. Solid waste and sewage are sometimes not properly disposed, and this can cause water pollution. Mangroves may be cleared for the construction of hotels and cruise ship ports. Tourists may break off coral reefs when snorkeling. Also, cruise ship tourism can result in oil spills. To reduce the impact of tourism on the coastal environment, a number of measures have been put in place in the Caribbean. Some beach resorts, such as Sandals in Jamaica, use the Green Global 21 certificate scheme for sustainable development. This scheme includes the training of staff in environmental awareness and management, using natural ventilation instead of artificial light, and air conditioning. the use of solar heating, which is a natural source of energy, use of electronic systems, which shuts off electricity when the room is not in use, treatment of wastewater and using recycled water for irrigation, composting of kitchen waste, purchasing of organically grown local food, and so on. Other ways of protecting the coast is by promoting community tourism, where tourists stay in normal homes. Tourists can also engage in other attractions that are not directly related to the natural environment, such as visiting museums, parks, and historical sites. All right, so this is where I stop, and I am going to leave you with some questions as usual. Try to answer all of these questions to test your knowledge. And I'm also leaving you with an actual exam question. The answer is in the video. So look at the question and try to write down your answer. All right, so all the best as you prepare for your exams. Remember to like, to share, and to subscribe to my channel.